Hi, I'm Eileen Bild. I'm with OTEL Talk, and today I have another wonderful guest for the book Mayhem to Miracles, and her name is Temple Hayes. Hi, Temple.
Hello.
Great to see you again. I have interviewed you before, and I'm excited to have another talk about your contribution to this book, which actually was the foreword. And I want to introduce you, and then we'll get into the story. So Reverend Dr. Temple Hayes is an ordained minister of Unity and Centers for Spiritual Living. She is also the spiritual leader and CEO of First Unity Spiritual Campus, a New Thought Center in St. Petersburg, Florida, a speaker, radio host, practicing shamanic healer, and author of several books. Temple's background includes 3 years of military service in the United States Army Reserves and several years as a business owner. And much of her teachings focus on spirituality and metaphysics, which I love all of that. So welcome to the show, Temple.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. So your story is about miracles and a true miracle that showed up in your life in unexpected ways. So kind of start at the beginning and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, first of all, I know, the title of the book, Mayhem to Miracles, is just, it's well needed, at this time. It's needed at any time, but it brings forth the consciousness of miracles are every day. Not everybody may take a tribe and go all the way to the desert or part the sea, but there are miracles in your life that are right in front of us. And often in our being trained to make things happen and force things to happen, it's so easy, to miss those.
Absolutely.
To miss them. And the word miracle, I was honored to write the foreword because I love the word miracle. And it's a word that it's not new to me. It's like I have been using it, the majority of my life. And I love the statement, don't know who said it. A miracle is what happens when you wake up one day and you're there and you don't recall all the necessary steps that it took to get you there. And I think that is what we're talking about, is a miracle. It happened. You wake up one day and you're there. And I think in humanity, that's often why, people that watch The Secret or, mass thinking, when they hear us metaphysically, and we say, there's a law that's always working, hold in your consciousness what you want, or you go to the idea of the teachings of Abraham, of ask and it is given. When you ask, or when your soul asks, and so I think it's even different layers. Your personality may ask for things that the universe has got your back. Example, have you ever asked to have the love of your life in, 7th grade, and you were so disappointed it didn't happen? And then you meet that person 30 years ago and you go, woo, that's a miracle. So that being said, what is, I think, often misinterpreted is that when we ask, or when our deepening of what our soul agreed to in this lifetime, it's instantaneously given. However, it's an order thing. It's a time thing. It's a space thing. What is it they say that, God's delays create new ways? It's that. And that's where some people shut that off and say, this stuff doesn't work. They sold a lot of movies, but there's nothing to that. And they then live a life that said the law isn't working and it works for them by not working.
And that makes sense, right? Well, I see it as it's, life, physical life is linear, but the spiritual life is expansive. And so in the linear, we want instant gratification, but what we don't realize is the moment we say I want, the universe goes into action and starts to make things happen. And then I think some of those layers that you've mentioned about layers is sometimes we get in the way. So, the universe has to kind of work around that, and it may take longer. And I think a lot of times what we say we want doesn't come in the way we think logically that it should come. And I think that your story is a prime example of that. And I'd love to hear, how those layers and that path and that journey led to your miracle that you mentioned in the book.
Well, it's those unexpected moments that, what is it? They give hope. They instill possibilities. They call forth a deeper part in our humanity. A fun miracle for me, before we get into the same forward of the book, many. It can be as simplistic as there was a woman here that she was a congregant, and she had some real strong mental challenges. And she drove a bicycle here every week, and it would sometimes show up very pronounced, like she carried a grocery bag, and in that she would think she had put a check for us. And if she couldn't find it, then the whole, group of people around her would, and just respond and, and would you be quiet, or, people in a community, in a spiritual community, So anyway, but this woman, she was on another dimension, and it's if she were, born now, she would be treated like or embraced like some of the genius minds that just can't function in the simplicity of how Americans are trained. But she would have had more opportunities in her life. I'm convinced of that. But one week I was thinking about, this is years ago, I was thinking about leaving the church work. It was real heavy on my heart. She walked in 2 days later or so and gave me a painting that she painted. She would get like those pantyhose cardboard. Do you remember those? Little pieces of round cardboard. Yeah. She painted a card that was a church on it. And she said, "Here, Reverend Temple, you need this." And my wife and I were contemplating moving to the beach. No one knew. And she walked up and gave me a painting of Barbara and I at the beach. Wow. The strangest one was one Sunday, because stories, I have a file cabinet of stories that are in here.
Right.
And one Sunday I started talking about the miracle of what had happened with a big sea turtle coming out of the ocean, my own personal experience of that. After service, she gave me a card with a huge turtle. And so miracles like that, I urge you, if you're not already, that you start keeping a file cabinet in your heart of those miracles, because it is when you're in shadow work, it is when you're having an off day that you can call them up, and they bring life to your body. They bring energy to your, to your being.
Absolutely.
They really do.
Yes. And I call them golden nuggets, the signpost or the signs that, like you said earlier, we kind of miss and we don't we walk right by, but if it's handed to us or provided directly to us, it kind of, I think, snaps us out of that linear place and drops us into that hard and more spiritual place where we can go, okay, I see it now. That's the miracle that's guiding me and showing me the way. So
it's also a flat tire that you may not respond, not you, but the collective you, in a pleasant way. And then you hear down the road was the accident that you would have been in.
right.
So or being delayed and making a wrong turn on the interstate. One of my best friends and I did that one time. We were so busy talking. We missed a turn in the Carolinas that was like a 40-minute delay.
Oh, wow.
And then when we came up on where we would have been, it was like a 25-car pileup.
Wow. Ooh, got chills on that one.
Yeah. So,
yes.
A miracle is, I think that there's so many things in life that are from so many dimensions that it depends on how we welcome them, and embrace them.
And embrace it.
I had, like so many people, a really tough childhood. And there's no blaming that anymore. And my philosophy is after 30, you don't get to blame your parents or your guardians, or like, let's move on with it. Let grow up, but just as a frame of reference, it was very tough. And spiritually, I wasn't in harmony with the Baptist teaching. And sexually, I wasn't in harmony with the, if you don't do this and get a husband and go have children, then, people think something's wrong with you. And maybe something was wrong with me, but it was my choice. You know what I'm saying? But in a culture, then it was like you don't have a choice, and, you're ousted because you're different.
Well, and there's judgment in a culture.
Oh, please. So that's why people oust you, is because they judge you, and so and then realizing and in life that I would probably go the route of accepting my gay life. However, back then, people died, they sent them away in mental institutes. And so I pretty much surrendered, because the point is, it just didn't seem that was my path. And and that's the biggest part I think we want to remember is it's not that it's good or it's bad or it's right or it's wrong. It's just your soul, you're on a path. And we're trained that it's right or it's wrong or it's good or it's bad or I won or I lost. That's the Americanized, fit you in a box so you can be herded and be trained to do whatever they want you to do at any given moment. Just announce something on the news and everybody runs. So, but the path is the path. So, Eileen, I just accepted that my path was not one of children, and my path was one of nurturing and mothering, if you will, the tribes. And that was what I was here to do, to have in a gestation period, being a visionary and an entrepreneur. And I've been doing that all my life. I rarely see things as they are. I see things as they can be. And I know the president, JFK, said that. That's more his quote, but that's more my life. I'm always invited to the brainstorming meetings because it just is very natural to me. It's very natural to everybody before they accept the training of not to question and all of that. But that being said, I had accepting not having a child. So when I would go on shamanic journeys to the other world reality, 1 or 2, maybe 3 times, I came back with the message that I was told the baby was fine. And my shamanic teacher, because I was in like 10 years of training, I'm not a shamanic practitioner because I went to a long weekend and I have a certificate. You know what I mean? I came from that you really learn your craft before you put it on your business card. That said, I told her about it, and then I would intellectualize it, and I'd say, well, that must be the birth of a new adventure.
And that's typically, I think, when someone is given information like that, especially if they have never intended to really have children, you think of it as a birthing of something new, such as, a new business or
Mhm.
a new, anything that's new other than an actual child. So
Right, right, yes.
I'm sure that when things progress to where you could match that statement to what actually happened, I'm sure it was a little bit of a surprise.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, I would say absolutely. And that said, I'm not one of those people that, convince myself that in my generation as a gay person that I don't care for children. That's not me. That's actually one of the main reasons that I stopped being an international motivational speaker and went back to spiritual community is because I love kids and I feel they are important. Not so, oh, I know they're our future. They're our now. And they teach us what we have been trained to forget. And I think there's, tremendous value with being with kids. But anyway, the short of the story is that we have a very, at the time, pre-COVID, we actually had a very, several hundred people coming here a week. And I came out one day into the lobby and here's this little girl, little stockings and little patent leather shoes. She wasn't quite 2. And I was just spellbound by her and just cutest thing, these cute little bows in her hair. And I said, what is her name? Who's this bundle of a miracle? And her mommy said, well, that's her name. And I'm like, oh boy, oh my,
Wow.
here we go. Oh my goodness, here we go. And then the next week I saw her, and then the next week I saw her. And then she came to see me to tell me that she was actually her granddaughter and that she was adopting her and running into all kind of trouble. And I listened to my instinctive response. And I said, if you have any trouble getting that baby, we'll have hundreds of people show up at that courthouse, and I'll go with you. I didn't know them, but I knew them.
In here.
I had no idea who they were, but there was the soul thing. And that's the part is the meat of what you're talking about. These encounters happen and we want to go with not our personality reacting, because our personality reacting would say, lady, I feel for you. I don't have time to fit that in. I mean, I hardly ever know. I don't really know you. That's personality reaction. And that's the level where so many people spend their time, or I'm so busy. Like, oh, please just play violin behind that. That's martyrdom.
Right.
And so, but to move out of that and go, what instinctively and intuitively am I responding to is this is mine to do. It's mine to do. And so lo and behold, I took a 2-hour drive with them to and fro to the courthouse, spoke on that little girl's behalf. And that was that. And that's what people, they poo-poo. And that's a missing in humanity is, well, she's, just 2.5. She doesn't know. Oh yeah. She knew everything. She still knows. She still remembers it. She still talks about it. She goes, oh yeah, that's when we went and I was adopted. Her energy, her essence, her soul was retrieved when she became official. And in that energy, she would introduce herself to people at the community. She would run in front of me and say, this is my temple, when she could say temple. What I noticed more than anything, Eileen, when I was first falling in love with her to no return is that when she would be looking for me around the campus and I could feel her, her essence. And I'd open the door in the hall and she'd go, purple. She didn't know how to say temple. Purple. And it was that, it's like that breath-giving moment that is it's the awe and wealth of life. I'll tell you a couple of things quickly. When this relationship was being, established or formalizing or taking shape or whatever, we had a number of just in a row, real strong members here die. And when the last one came in, I just sat down in my office chair and had myself a good old belly cry. A little while later, I looked at my phone and I had a text message from Miracle's mom. And she said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, why?" Well, Miracle just ran over to me and said, Mama Temple, she needs a hug. She needs a hug. She's crying. She's crying.
Wow, what a gift.
Not quite 2 years old, and I look at her and I go to her, "Mommy, who is this bundle of a miracle?" And she said, "That's her name." I got goosebumps. I knew that was a sign. The word miracle is one of my favorite words of all times. I had it posted all over my house. Miracles are coming. I'm with Miracle. I have Miracle. So week after week after week, and I will not go into all of that. But in addition to that, I called an astrologer I had only talked to one time, and it had been 20-something years. And we were catching up, and I said, "Oh, and there's this amazing little girl in my life." She said, "What's her birthday?" I said, 11/12/2015. And she said, "The day she was born, it was in your chart to have a child." In our awareness that we are willing or not willing to do deeply interrupts the ability to manifest all of our dreams. I became aware that most of my unconscious, notice I said unconscious, issues were between the age of birth and 6 years old. And she came to change me. So I am now a guardian to Miracle, and I am her Mama Temple. It is not what I've done for her. It's truly how she has changed my life. Miracle, please come on up. She would like to share with you something that she's been working on. Out loud.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I love you.
Mm-hmm.
What a gift.
What a gift. So that's who we are. She's way in tune and just grounded, and she tickles me. I told her one day, as in a consequence teaching, I said, Miracle, she was 4. I said, I'm not going to teach you shamanism if and be your teacher if you're not going to eat broccoli and eat vegetables. And she laughed and she said, Mama Temple, you're already my teacher.
Talk about a smart little girl.
Oh my.
It's wonderful when you have such a child of innocence, but yet purity of that authentic self.
Mhm.
And, as adults, I think when we come into a relationship with a child like that, I think, she becomes our teacher. They become our teacher and reminding us of that connection. And when you
Mhm.
were telling your story about her looking for you on the campus, and you said she just went, I felt this like deep-rooted, heart-centered, spiritual essence connection that she's in a different realm, in a different mindset,
Mhm.
even though she's grounded. She's like in the world, but not of it.
Right.
And part of that connection that you have with her seems to be one where you're holding that space for her to be there and for her to feel
Absolutely.
safe and for
Mhm.
her to be able to grow up knowing that she's okay.
But I am grateful that I am where I am because, in our 30s, we're just so obsessed with ourselves
Right.
that I'm grateful that I met her at a time that I could really think things through. I'm working with 70 and 80 and 90-year-olds even now that they were trained by their parents that if you don't ask right, you don't get it.
Hmm.
And that training takes a person into, I didn't ask God right. I didn't pray right. I'm not right, that kind of thing. And I started her at 3 years old that when her behavior was off, for her to say, I apologize, not I am sorry. And, we have people all over the globe knowing the power of affirmations.
Yes.
And they teach their child from day one, you better tell me you're sorry. Say it now. I am sorry. We have grown-ups that don't even believe you can share a hall without apologizing that you're taking up space in it. I am sorry. So little Miracle goes into kindergarten. And at the orientation, I'm with her as her Mama Temple and her Mommy Teresa are there. We're very good friends, close, like family. And she says, Mrs. House, I'm Miracle. And I don't say I am sorry. I say I apologize.
She is the smart little girl,
Yes, she is.
I love how she's very affirmative. It sounds like, in what she believes and what her truth is,
Mhm.
and it's almost like she says it to those in her circle in a way that you can't change that about me, kind of behavior, which I think is beautiful, and a lot of times I look at things as a mirror and reflection of ourselves when another person comes into our life.
Of
So,
course.
yeah, so I'm sure you've seen that when she says or does something, it kind of reminds you of yourself at some point.
Oh, my word. Oh,
Lord.
well, yeah, of course. I mean, that would be true with anyone, even looking at you. But at least for me, that's how I feel about that. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I feel that I've learned so much because oddly enough, my dad died 20 years ago, but my mom moved here 3 years ago. And so I've watched the language that my mom uses, with a Miracle. And I have said, so I've seen it and I've witnessed it, because people just do what their parents did and hope to have different children, which they're going to have more of the same. And they don't question it, just do the same thing. And I said, no, you don't get to do that with her. No energy around it, but just no. I want you to do it like this. It's not about me, it's about miracle. And absolutely. Isn't it Bruce Lipton that says so much of the things you work on or pay attention to in your life happen between 0 and 6?
Yes.
And I thought, God, I'm so glad miracle's here, because I am seeing. I would have loved to have had a temple haze when I was 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 years old. And I would have loved that, because I got carted over to the Baptist church, and I'm a sinner and still am, and I'm going to hell. And, you know, I used to cry when I left the services. Cry. Like, oh my God, this is so.
Well, it must have been devastating.
I still cry if I hear that stuff. But yeah, so I would have loved to have had someone like me, not in my, let me read your bio. I'm talking about that I can hold the space for you, that you can be who you are, and allow that self-esteem to unfold and give you a platform,
Absolutely.
a platform that you can be in.
Something that comes to mind that aligns with what you're talking about, you're holding the space for her between age 2 and 6. And my career as a coach and a mentor and the things that I do, I've come to realize, and I realized this years ago, and I've considered writing a book about it, but most adults have not developed that autonomous stage, and they are conditioned to think and behave and believe certain ways through age 6 and beyond, of course.
Right.
And I've often talk about and wish that parents and nurturers could hold space for a child where they recognize this is who the child is, not this is who I want them to be.
Right.
So Miracle is very fortunate to have you to be able to hold that space for her, because I think that will enable her to develop fully that autonomous and authentic self, and will be a huge benefit for the things that she's going to end up doing in life.
Absolutely. And, when you made a reference to metaphysics, which it surprises me people still don't know what that word means. It just means beyond the physical.
Yes.
And there's a saying that children are born with a question mark, and by the time we're done with them, they become a period.
Yes.
I can't do this. My dad said I can't have that. This won't happen. This is the kind of life I'm going to have, period. I'm going to be fat because my daddy was fat, and all of those things, instead of living in the question. But that's what, the movements of unity and centers for spiritual living and those kind of communities, that is the youth program, is that you're beautiful and you're wonderful just as you are. And that's another reason that I've stayed involved this long in my life, is because of that. Because it is impacting some, the life of children.
Yes.
Because if it's ingrained in them by the time they're 6, it's pretty safe they're not going to lose it.
Oh, exactly. And then, as a child, if they honor that themselves and they feel safe to be that person that they authentically are, then they can have strong boundaries when someone tries to steer them in a different direction.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a miracle. The miracle is in your life for you to be able to guide her in that way, and for her to be that shining light in your light as well, in your life.
Yeah, and that's really important. And that's the whole, premise of this. And I don't want anyone to misinterpret what I'm saying. She's been one of the greatest gifts of my life.
Yes.
And yes, I feel grateful that I have some of the training and background that I have, that I can really have her best in mind, not mine. However, her life has changed me so much. And it's been a pleasure today to be with you and talk to you. And thank you for having me. It's been a
Oh,
pleasure.
you're welcome, Temple. And if you could share where people can find you.
Simple templehayes.com, TEMPLEHAYES.com.
Awesome. And it's been a pleasure to talk with you and share your story. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you, love. Appreciate you and
you.
all that you do.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.